Hey there, it's Christy with Go See Christy Beauty Boutique, and we just finished our 3-part video series on how to take care of your eyelash extensions so that they last longer. So if you didn't catch that, click the link below and you can find that 3-part video series. So now we are going into our anti-aging series. So there's a lot of information out there on how you can slow down the aging process of your skin by using anti-aging products to reduce the fine lines and wrinkles. There are also a lot of information out there on what specific foods that you can eat to slow down the aging process from the inside out at a cellular level. So let me first explain to you how the aging process works so I can explain to you the last tip on an anti-aging that usually is not talked about too much, but it is just as important. So hang on with me towards the end where I explain the one tip that most people forget about or they don't even know about that can help you with anti-aging, not only in reducing the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles in the skin, but also in your overall aging process of the body. So hang on till the end with me, okay? We're going to be talking about AGEs and how that affects the aging of your skin in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s. So first, AGE stands for Advanced Glycation End Products. And so what that is that accumulates over time in our bodies. And what these AGEs do is that it causes the protein that we make in our skin to lose its elasticity, its buoyancy, its bounciness, its plushness, and it starts to get stiff. And you start to have irregular striations in your skin, which we know as fine lines and wrinkles. And also we start to see uneven skin tones and age spots as we age. But did you know that you can prevent a lot of that the younger that you are? So we always talk about anti-aging skincare products, what you can apply on your skin, and the foods that you can eat, so that what you can put into your body. So AGEs have been linked to degenerative disorders in the body, in your skin, as well as diseases and disorders of your entire body. For example, AGEs, there's a higher amount of AGEs with people who have diabetes, and it accumulates over time. So obviously the older that you are, the more AGEs can accumulate in your body. So AGEs not only are correlated with body diseases and disorders, they're also correlated with skin diseases and disorders such as acne, hyperpigmentation, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, and even skin cancer. So how it affects the skin is collagen production is affected by these AGEs. So AGEs cause the major skin proteins, namely collagen, to break down, become stiffer, and cause irregular striations on the surface of the skin, which would be the fine lines and wrinkles. Now, glycated collagen can be formed as early as in your 20s. A lot of it does depend on how you take care of your skin, what environmental pollutants or how much sun that you've gotten, how stressful your life is, and your diet. But it has been shown, studies have shown that it has formed as early as in your 20s, and it starts to accumulate every year. Now, some research has shown that glycated collagen can accumulate at a rate of 3.7% annually. And has also shown that the glycated collagen can increase up to 30 to 50% by the time we as humans are 80 years old. So like I mentioned before, so glycated collagen leads to stiffness of the skin. It also starts to show up in sagging of the skin. So what this looks like of aging in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s is if you start to look in the mirror, and in your 20s, you may start to notice really tiny fine lines that show up when you make an expression, like being surprised or furrowing your brows or smiling. But as soon as that you go expressionless, they disappear. Then in your 30s, what you may start to notice is these tiny little changes again, where you had really small fine lines in your 20s. Now they're a little bit noticeable. And then from your mid-30s into your latter 30s, some of you may have noticed that those fine lines, some of them have turned into very, very small wrinkles. Then in your 40s, now what happens, namely to women, is that the hormones start to become irregular. And so once you put hormones into play, what can happen to some people is obviously they can experience midlife acne. And the other side of it is women will start to find or notice not only are they getting more noticeable fine lines, and those other fine lines that have now turned to wrinkles, is they have now noticed some formations of age spots on their skin. And finally, in your 50s. So when women get into their 50s, what happens is the estrogen production starts to actually decrease. So then what happens is estrogen helps produce the formation of new collagen. So as the estrogen levels start to decrease, then women will now start noticing not only more fine lines and wrinkles, because now their skin lacks the elastin or the elasticity in their skin, and also more age spots, especially if they've been out in the sun when they were younger. They're getting more fine lines and wrinkles because their skin is drier. But not only that, some women will start to actually experience or notice more sagging skin. So this is more and more accumulated AGEs. Okay, so for those of you who are still with me towards the end here, I'm finally going to tell you the one anti-aging tip that you may not believe, and that is cooking. How you cook your food. So these tips will actually reduce the amount of AGEs in your body. So listen to these cooking tips, and maybe you can start to do these along with the foods you already eat and the anti-aging products that you put on your skin. Now, so for those of you who are in your 20s and 30s, the earlier you start, because remember, AGEs can accumulate over time. If the earlier you start, the younger your skin will look when you finally do start to get to that aging process, because now it's not only about the stress and the sun damage and the foods that you eat, it's also the hormones that affect your skin. So if you can prevent that and prolong the effects of the AGEs, the better it is. In your 40s and your 50s, you can still prevent future accumulation of AGEs through the way that you cook your food. Now, almost all foods have some sort of AGEs in the foods. Now, ultimately, the ideal way is, they said, to reduce the amount of AGEs in your bodies is to eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and preferably eat them raw as well as nuts. But that's not always idealistic for everyone to eat a raw diet. So here are some cooking methods that you need to introduce or increase, as well as some other cooking methods that you want to reduce. So here are some anti-aging tips from in the kitchen, and this does not mean that you're going to actually make these skincare products in your kitchen. So the first one is use a slow cooker more often, but on low to medium heat. So obviously, just like the slow cooker, it cooks your food slowly. Avoid excessive browning or excessive heat. So the reason why they recommend doing a slow cooker is because it's cooked over a longer period in lower heat. So the more higher the heat is, the more it increases the AGEs in your food. Boiling your food, steaming your food, poaching your food, those are all ways that you can reduce the amount of AGEs in your foods. Now, again, we talk about excessive heat. That increases the amount of AGEs in your food. So that would mean frying, broiling, roasting, and grilling. Another tip is marinating your meats in lemon juice or vinegar, and that also reduces the amount of AGEs in your foods. It softens or tenderizes the protein, so there's less cooking time. And of course, limit eating high fatty meats, high fatty foods, processed foods, and full fat dairy products. And the foods that you can cook, you want to introduce more anti-glycation foods. So for example, foods that are high in vitamin A and beta carotene. So that would be carrots, pumpkin, kale, spinach, and cantaloupe. Also introducing foods that are high in vitamin C, so such as Brussels sprouts, broccoli, citrus fruits, those all have high in vitamin C. So foods high in vitamin E, such as carrots, olive oil, oats, and tomatoes. So if you can help to remember, I did this in another video on how you want to look for antioxidants in skincare. Think of the ACE bandage, so that's the same with foods. You want to look for foods that are high in vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin E. Okay, so the next one is bioflavonoids. So bioflavonoids basically help increase the efficacy and the absorption of vitamin C, namely. So bioflavonoids are found in berries, dark chocolate, and sea buckthorn. Now the other one is called polyphenols, and polyphenols come from plants, and that's what makes the plants green. It gives it that green color. And they also help oxidation, so it's an antioxidant. And foods that contain a high amount of polyphenols is again berries, dark chocolate, but also teas, both black tea and green tea. Obviously green tea has a higher amount of polyphenols because of its green color. So that's why I wanted to discuss with you today the anti-aging in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s. So a lot of times the myth is that you don't need to start dealing with anti-aging in your 20s because you're too young. But really, if you are eating foods that are high in sugars, and also the way that you cook your meats in the higher temperatures, the earlier you start eating that way, the faster you are going to cause an increase in AGEs in your bodies, which then ages not only your body but also your skin. So the 3 ways that you can attack the aging process in your body is, the first one obviously is what you eat, because that is stemming from the root of how you are what you eat. So your skin cells and your proteins in your skin is made up of what you eat. So what you eat, how you cook your food, as well as the antioxidant products that you use on your face. So thanks again for watching, and once again, if you want to watch that video on how sugar actually ages your skin faster and how you can prevent it, click the link below. Thanks for watching, guys.